Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Decided to come out and grab myself a little bit of coffee, and I think I'm gonna start doing Storytime Sundays just to kind of bring y'all in a little bit more and tell you a little bit more about what's going on in my life. So recently, I've experienced some life updates, y'all, and I'm still just trying to reconcile how I feel about it all. Um, I'm just gonna start off by saying I haven't posted any reviews in the last week because I have been out of town. Um, I live in Colorado, and I decided to drive down to Texas to spend my niece's 12th birthday with her. So I was out of town last weekend, got back, and I don't know if I ate something that was bad, but my stomach, my stomach was tore up pretty much for a few days, and I was just completely wiped out. I had no energy. So um, sorry, I just didn't have the energy to do any reviews. However, I am catching up. So I will be recording my reviews for the Never Ever Mets today for episodes 9 and 10. And then I'll need to catch up for the Housewives. I didn't do it last week, so I'm going to catch up and try to do two reviews, one for last week and one for this Sunday's episode, and then one for the other show that I'm reviewing, which is 90 Day Hunt for Love. I didn't do last week's episode, so I will be recording that episode along with the new episode that comes out this week. So it'll be a 2 for 1, basically. So I just wanted to let y'all know what was going on with that. But my life update is, y'all, I quit my job this last Monday. Wasn't expecting that to happen, but so let me start back from the beginning. I work at a hospital, or I worked at a hospital, and took position with a certain department back in 2022. Sorry, back in 2021. And didn't really quite know how I felt about my manager. I don't know if y'all have ever experienced having a manager or a supervisor that likes to micromanage. And I'm just not in that place in my life where that's something that I want to put myself through. I primarily worked in call centers, and so I've experienced that. You know, when I was younger, I wanted to be the best employee, so I was by the book, did everything according to how my manager wanted me to do it, overlooked the micromanaging, but I'm in a completely different place in my life. So anyway, took a position with the department at the hospital. My supervisor and I thought we were getting along well, but I asked a question one day pertaining to payroll stuff. And he completely snapped on me, started yelling at me. And this is my supervisor. Like, this is not my father. Like, what the hell? So I decided to go to the employee advocate and launch a complaint. And unbeknownst to me, this same type of complaint had been launched against my supervisor before I was even a part of the company. So that got sorted out. However, about a month or so after that incident, my dad passed. My dad transitioned, and because I was new with this hospital, hadn't been on with them for a year yet, I did not qualify for um, family medical leave for FMLA. However, I did qualify for disability. That's a benefit that you get right off the gate. And then I was able to take a personal leave. However, when you take a personal leave, your job is not protected. Your position isn't protected. And because I had a little bit of static with the supervisor before that happened, I took my 3 days of bereavement when my dad passed, decided to go right back to work after my dad's service, foolishly. I hadn't really processed that my dad passed. When he passed, I just kind of went right into action mode. Had to start planning the services, funeral, letting family know, making sure everybody got here and situated, and handled the business basically pertaining to my dad's passing. And then I went right back to work and ended up speaking to a patient who had lost her husband. She was apologizing to me because when she called, she had just lost her husband a few days before, and she didn't have all the information that she needed. So she was apologizing to me for not having all the information. And I'm like, don't you dare apologize to me. I just lost my dad. I understand exactly what you're going through. No need to apologize. And it was at that point that I realized I went back to work way too soon. And I was like, no, nope, can't do this. So I decided to take leave again. I wasn't with the hospital for a year at this point, so my job was not protected. And when I decided to go ahead and take leave, my department used that as an opportunity to get rid of me, basically. They said that they were not able to hold my position for the amount of time that I was going to be out. However, I was still employed with the hospital, and they would allow me to remain employed for, I believe it was up to 2 months after I came back off of leave. I was still getting paid on disability, and they allowed me to look for another position within the hospital, um, to see if I could, stay there. If I wasn't able to find another position, then that would have been the end of my employment. My employment with the hospital would have been terminated. Now, because they were so ugly and nasty in the way they handled me, and again, my dad had just passed, because they were so ugly and nasty in the way that they handled me, normally, under normal circumstances, I would have been like deuces. I would have went somewhere else, probably would have even filed a lawsuit. But because my life had changed so drastically, and because with my dad's passing, kind of put my mother into a little bit of a financial bind. The plan was for me to move home with her and help with the mortgage and the bills to kind of offset some of the financial loss that we experienced, or that my mother was experiencing, because of my dad's passing. So that's what I did. I looked for another position with the hospital, found another position, ended up taking a pay cut, but I remained employed. And it was fine because I got the time off that I needed. I was still going to be having a steady income. And the position that I took allowed me to have less direct interaction with patients. So I didn't really have to worry about being triggered as much because there were a lot of triggers after my dad passed. And when you're working with patients that are experiencing some of the same health issues that my dad experienced, when you're having to speak with them on a daily basis, that can really get to you. So I decided the department that I got with, I didn't have to deal with any of that. And then also my supervisor had just lost his father the year before. And we were pretty much in the same situation where we were helping our mothers out. So he really, really understood. He had a lot of empathy, a lot of compassion for my situation. He didn't bother me. He was very impressed with my work ethic and with the work with my skill sets. He complimented me on my communication, on my productivity. I've always been a very, very hard worker. Um, it's not in me to come in and do work half-assed, and especially when you're dealing with patients whose health, their well-being kind of depends on you and what you do. So I always give I always give 110% effort. So me moving to this department worked out very, very well, worked out to my advantage. And things were going beautifully until the person who was the director over that department previously, she had left and they brought her back in. So she came back and switched a whole lot of things around, switched a lot around, uh, which sent up a bunch of red flags for me, a bunch of red flags. My supervisor got moved to a different department and was replaced by the person who was the lead for our department. And he was cool. He didn't really bother me too much either. He just let me do my thing. But I could tell he was by the book. And that also doesn't bother me. Everybody's got a job to do and everybody's going to protect, their job, right? So everybody's going to have their own back. But as long as you don't mess with me, I'm all good. The only thing that I asked for, even when I initially first got hired, and my supervisor and my supervisor's supervisor would ask me, is there anything that you need from us? And I would always, always tell them, I was very, very clear when I said transparency. I need transparency. I need you all to be very transparent in your communication, whether I mess something up, if there's something I can be doing better, if there's changes that are going to be happening, just be transparent in the communication. I can roll with it. I can rock with it. Just let me know. And with the new supervisor, with the new director, I was not getting that. So there were a lot of changes that were being made, a lot of conflict happening. I'm also somebody who's dealt with chronic depression and anxiety throughout my entire life. And I've been in several different intensive outpatient programs to help me with this. So I was in a place, even with my dad passing, where I was able to remain emotionally regulated, right? All my emotions were in check. I was able to stay in my wise mind, right? I wasn't too emotional. I wasn't too rational or analytical. I was somewhere in the middle, and that really, really helped me be able to get through that time with my dad passing and my grieving and my mourning. I had suffered panic attacks in the past, but because I had done the work on my mental health, I'd worked on my mental health, I'd worked on myself. I had not experienced panic attack in years, about a good 4 or 5 years. And then all of a sudden, with the way that things were shifting at the job, I started experiencing panic attacks again to the point where I was passing out. And I thought, is this from anxiety? Is this some kind of other medical issue, some other kind of health issue going on? And it wasn't. It was my anxiety settling in. And the worse that things got on the job with the management and the micromanagement that was taking place, the lack of communication, the shifting of managers and roles and duties, the anxiety became even worse. I'm already stressed out because my whole life has changed. So I'm getting adjusted to the way that my living situation is now. There's health issues going on with my 73-year-old mother. I've got my own health issues, financial issues, just a lot of things outside of work that was causing me a lot of stress. So all I wanted to do was go to work, do my job, and be done. I was able to manage the stress outside of work, but it was the stress that I was enduring at work that was causing me to have these panic attacks. So things got really, really bad within the department. A lot of work was being shifted over to me. And again, there was a lot of micromanaging taking place. I decided I'm taking some time off. I actually had words with my supervisor. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Decided to take some time off and take a leave to refocus and kind of brush up on the skills that I learned in some of the previous intensive outpatient programs that I had been in for my mental health to get myself back centered and right so I could stop having these panic attacks and other symptoms that I was experiencing, some suicidal ideation. Sorry for some SI. Don't want to trigger anybody else. Um, I was in a very, very, very dark place. Could not see any lights. None. So I decided to take a step back and do what I needed to do to get myself back in a good mental headspace. And I did. And one of the things that helped me with that is reevaluating what my beliefs are, what my values are, what my core values are, and what my number one value was. And I have done this before, but with life, your values can change, right? And that's perfectly fine. Mine has always been self love. That's my number one value. That's the thing I value the most in this world. Love, but even more than that, more specifically, self love, because that's something that I did not learn, was not taught growing up. But I knew it was something that I wanted. I wanted love from others, but I know you gotta have that love for yourself. And I was not showing myself any love, right? So anyway, reevaluated my values, determined that self-love is still my number one value, and realized that I needed to start living a life that spoke to that value in order to remain emotionally regulated, to get myself out of that dark place, to allow myself to start experiencing joy. So that's what I did. So this last Monday, my leave was over and it was time for me to go back to work. So all prepared to do so. First thing Monday morning, it's bullshit at the job, BS at the job. And I said, BS with my equipment not even working. After being on the phone with IT for hours. So let me also say my job is fully remote. So I work from home full time, right? And the hospital, the main campus, is about 45 minutes away from my home. And I had been having to go back and forth. This is some of the BS that I was having to deal with. Go back and forth for equipment issues, for equipment changes. One of the things was when I first got hired, I was assigned a laptop, which IT could very easily remote into if I was having any kind of issues working from home, because this was a full-time work from home position. So any issues I had with this laptop, they were able to remote in, fix it, bang, boom, done. The only time I really had to go down there for anything pertaining to my laptop was when there were system updates that couldn't be downloaded. I would have to take the laptop in to have system updates installed, and that was fine. But with the new director and supervisor change, it was myself and another girl that had a laptop, and everybody else had a full blown like clinical desktop system. So it's the type of systems that they actually use in the exam rooms in the at the hospital. They're all kind of programmed the same, right? So, for example, the brightness of the screen, every single one of those units has the same level of brightness. They cannot be adjusted. It cannot be brightened. The brightness cannot be lowered. If it's changed, it resets it for everybody in the healthcare system, everybody at the facility. So that was an issue because I was getting headaches every day. Um, but with the supervisor, she was like, well, only supervisors and managers have laptops, right? If you're not that pay grade, you really shouldn't have the laptop. So we're going to ask you to bring that in. We're going to switch you out for one of the desktop clinical systems. That's cool and all, right? But if you work from home full time, you need to be able to have a system where if you have any issues, IT can remote into the system and repair it and fix it without inconveniencing me to drive 45 minutes into campus to get this fixed. And that wasn't the case. They gave me a system that IT could not remote into. So I was constantly having to go back and forth down into campus. Meanwhile, and on my days off, I have doctor's appointments. My mother has doctor's appointments. Again, my mother is 73. She doesn't really drive very far. So like any long distance, anything outside of like a 1 or 2 mile radius, I'm having to take her to her appointments. I also do all the grocery shopping and that. Like there's just stuff I have to do on my days off. And I started this YouTube channel. But they were inconveniencing me by having me have to take that damn computer, that terminal down into the main campus every other week because there was something wrong with it and IT could not remote into it, right? So Monday, go back to work, come off of leave, go back to work. First thing, Monday morning, issues with the system, with just my terminal. And after several hours, I get a call from IT saying, yeah, you're going to have to bring it back down. I'd already made a decision because this job had didn't mind inconveniencing me to keep having to bother with this equipment and the system. I said, if I have to go in here one more time behind the system, I'm packing the whole thing up and grabbing my badge. I'm turning everything in and I'm quitting. That's exactly what I did on Monday. I already felt myself becoming stressed. I mean, I had done so much work while I was on leave, and I was off for work for 8 weeks to get myself back right. I've done so much work to heal, and I already felt it starting to unravel. And I'm like, nope, 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 nope. You know what? My mental health is more important than anything, anything, any amount of money. If I'm not right emotionally, nothing in my life is going to be right. no matter what. And I'm somebody who always grew up hearing, you do not quit one job without having something else lined up. You just don't do it. You always have a job. You get 2, 3 jobs if you need to, which I have. But you never just walk away from a job without having something else, some other kind of income, some other means of way of taking care of yourself. You don't do that without having something else lined up. And this is the first time ever that I just decided, hey, my mental health is more important than any of that. So I just decided to quit. Y'all, I am 44 years old. I'm getting ready to be 45 here in a couple of weeks. And I don't have a job. And I don't know really what I'm going to do. I know that my saving grace here is that I do have a little bit of savings. So I have some savings that'll last me a good 6 or 7 months. And I can probably even stretch that out to 9 months if I needed to. But I have some savings. And so I'll be okay. I'll be okay financially. And I said, you know what, let me take this opportunity. Maybe this is God showing me. It's time to shift. It's time to transition. When I started this channel, the thing that I said that inspired me to go ahead and jump into it and start it was that I felt like I needed to shift. I needed a change. Something in my spirit was telling me to change. So I said, let me go ahead and start this channel and see what I can make it do. And I'll work full time and I'll do all the things and I'll do this on the side to help garner my creativity. But you know, I feel like maybe, and I really enjoy putting up my content. I enjoy doing my reviews. And I feel like maybe this is God telling me that you need to lean into this a little bit more and do what's going to fulfill you and do what brings you joy. You don't have to be stressed out. You don't have to be worried. You don't have to be anxious. You don't have to be depressed. You can experience joy. You can lean into the thing that fulfills you, and everything else will fall into place. Lean into my faith, not lean into my fear, right? And that will get me through because I've always been good. He's always got me. My higher power has always had me, no matter what. So I'm leaning into my faith now, and I'm just believing that this was all meant to be. It was not meant for me to be at this job anymore. That was bringing me so much suffering. I'm going to take this opportunity to do what I want to do with this channel. I want to still put up my reviews, but I'm also going to bring you all in more into my personal life. I want to bring you all in more into my life more to see more of me. And hopefully through me living my experiences, experiencing new things, it will inspire others. It can help motivate others. I can maybe even help others heal. You know, I've always felt like my calling here on this earth was to help others, but in what capacity I did not know. It wasn't meant for me to do it like at a call center, be on the phones with people, like helping that way. I've done that for many, many years, and I just know that's not it. So maybe it's in me just living my life, sharing my experiences. Maybe that's how I'm meant to help. So I'm going to still continue to do my reviews on this channel, but I also want to bring you all in more to my life, my daily experiences, do some shopping hauls, maybe do some get ready with me's, do more story time Sundays, share my past experiences, go on trips, take you all along with me. Because I do have a little bit saved up, that I can allow myself some time to do this, see if I can get this channel growing and up to where I want it to be. I can also take a little vacation. And this is something that I've wanted to do for years. I took my first cruise about 3 years ago, right after my dad passed. And I've been dying to get back on another cruise. So I am. I'm going on a cruise this summer, and I'm bringing you all with me. I'm bringing you into that experience. I want to open up my life a little bit more again to see if I can help others in some capacity through my lived experiences. I know there are a lot of people out here that can relate already to what I've shared. Just being so unhappy with the job, feeling like the life is being sucked out of you, feeling like your spirit is being suffocated, and doing what we have to do every day to make money. Suffering, our mental health suffering, our physical health suffering. Y'all, I'm not willing to do it anymore. I'm just not. If I have to, okay, I will. If if I have to in a few months go look for another job, I don't have a problem doing that. But I need to allow myself the opportunity to do something that I want to do. Life is too short. I saw that with my dad. I saw that with my sister friend, the woman who inspired me to start this channel, the woman that I was going to start the podcast with before I started this channel. The beautiful soul, the beautiful spirit that I wanted to do this with, that passed away and didn't get the opportunity to. I feel her pushing me and guiding me. And she's saying, yeah, Ty, go ahead and do this. So that's what I'm doing. So to go along with that, the name of this particular channel is Reality Table Talk. And I think I'm going to change that to Ty's Table Talk. I'm still going to do my reviews, but again, I'm going to bring you all into my life a little bit more and share a little bit more of myself with you. And I think Ty's Table Talk is a little bit more fitting for that, right? So that's what I'm going to do. This is my first story time, y'all. And I know it may seem a little all over the place. Decided to come out this morning and get myself a little bit of coffee and set up and do this. I'm at a Starbucks. And this video is not sponsored, by the way. But yeah, it's a nice Sunday morning. It's beautiful out. Just wanted to come out here and enjoy the weather, enjoy a little bit of coffee, do a story time for y'all, share some of my experiences, some of what's been happening in my life here as of late, and let you all know what I'm planning to do with this channel. And I hope you all rock with me with it. Hope you all rock with me, stick with me while I'm kind of trying to figure my way, find my way, figure things out. Come along with me for the ride. I do not believe you all will regret it, because I'm not going to regret it. I don't regret. I do not regret quitting my job this week, because I feel like this is leading me down the path to fulfill my life's purpose. Something is speaking to my spirit, it's speaking to my soul. I believe it's my higher power guiding me. And I know as long as I continue to listen to that, to follow that, to lean into my faith, not my fear, I'm on the right path to fulfill my purpose. Yeah, and that feels good. Anyway, y'all, thank you so much for watching. And my reviews for the Never Ever Mets will be out later on today. My Housewives of Atlanta reviews will be out sometime tomorrow or Tuesday. And then my reviews for 90 Day Hunt for Love will be out Wednesday or Thursday. And then I will see you all back here again next Sunday for Storytime Sunday on Ty's Table Talk. Until then, y'all stay safe, stay blessed, and do not forget to tell somebody that you love them today, even if you only tell yourself. And I truly do love y'all. So, love y'all. Peace.